Welcome to Tomo Talks. I'm Tomo Marjanovic. I am here with Nikki Czaplicki. We are talking about understanding your hormones and the difference between hormone problems and lifestyle problems. Stay tuned. Nikki, thank you for coming on to Tomo Talks. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Let's get into your story of where you came from on a hormone journey, and I want to kind of just dive into that right away.
My name is Nikki. I am a online health coach with Built Brigade, and I'm currently actually working, me and Brandon both are working on becoming functional health coaches, which basically just means we are able to help people with more chronic diseases and other issues that, women have, like PCOS, IBS, things like that.
What's your hormone story? And I'm going to preface this real quick with, because I ask women this all the time. Whenever I hear somebody that's younger, because you're younger, you're not. I mean,
22 years old.
You're 22?
22.
Oh my God, I feel so old. All right, so 22. Wait, what year were you born?
99.
Wow.
Yeah.
That story I was telling you about Croatia off camera?
Yeah.
That was in 99.
I was just being born.
When you were born, I was in Croatia doing stuff. So, okay, great. So now that I feel super old, and probably some of our viewers do. So your hormone journey, you're young. You really shouldn't be having any hormone problems.
Right.
So I want to ask this question. Feel free to answer if you like. Did you start birth control at an early age?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
And the reason that I asked that question is because I think it's an epidemic in this country.
Absolutely.
Basically getting women who are just getting into puberty, just starting to, get into a sexual maturity, technically, and they immediately are going on a drug that is limiting or prohibiting or manipulating their hormone profile.
A lot of the time, their bodies have not had the time to literally adapt to the hormones that are newly developing within their bodies.
Sure.
And they take, irregular periods as a way for the doctors to just throw birth control at them.
Well, not just irregular periods, but
other symptoms too.
PMS.
Acne.
Well, PMS,
PMS.
Acne. Things that
severe cramps, things like that.
Normal.
Yes.
When you start to become
to an extent.
Yeah,
of
to
course.
an extent, of course. Yeah, there's outliers and there's things that, cause a lot of women issues and pain.
100%, yeah.
But it seems like it's almost a blanket thing.
Yes.
As soon as you get your period, here's some birth control. Yep. You're sexually active, here's some birth control.
Exactly. And a lot of the time the doctors don't do any blood work, so they're not looking at what kind of birth control might be better for them.
Okay.
Or if they're an endurance athlete or if they're a strength athlete, anything like that, it's important to actually choose the right birth control because progestin-based and estrogen-based can do different things.
Absolutely.
So a lot of the time they don't take that into account either, which I think is very important. And it's something that I think more doctors should be educated on.
Unfortunately, a lot of the medical community, they're really not delving into the hormone side.
Absolutely, yeah.
Reasons why clinics like mine are out there.
Yep.
It's because doctors, for the most part, almost have no clue. I mean, I know bodybuilders and fitness people that know way more about hormones than most medical doctors.
It's becoming more common, I feel like. Yeah.
Well, I don't come from a medical background.
Yeah. Me neither.
It was funny. I was, before you got here, I was messaging with some of our providers, and they're asking me questions on certain hormones and certain drugs, and I'm like, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Medical professionals are asking. Technically, I'm a layman. I do have certifications, and I've been certified as a BHRT specialist and expert, but still, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
You're not a doctor.
No.
And you probably know more about female hormones than a lot of endocrinologists and some, what are they called?
Not to toot my own horn or anything.
No,
but
listen, I'm patting you on the back, So a lot of these different medical professionals, they're not really looking at the totality of what's going on in the body, and they're just kind of throwing things at it.
Yes. Another big thing is looking at the ratios of certain things. For example, when I first got my blood work done, when I first realized that something was wrong, my doctor told me that everything was in range and I was fine. But I was experiencing a lot of hair loss, not normal, severe acne, low libido, low energy dips.
How old were you at this time?
I was 21.
Yeah. So definitely not normal.
No. And it was post-show. So it kind of triggered something in my mind like, okay, it's got to be from what I just put my body through.
Okay.
But, I knew something was wrong and my doctor was telling me I was fine. And I was like, how many other people have come to their doctors thinking the same thing I am, knowing something's wrong and feeling like they're crazy because their doctor's telling them, because a doctor is someone you look up to and it's someone that you want to trust.
You're supposed to.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of mind-blowing to me that that's going on. And
So that's where our medical system has turned to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad. It's scary. It's more scary than sad to me.
I agree.
Because people inherently are supposed to trust the medical professionals when honestly, at this point, we went through the last couple of years with all of the lockdowns and the masks and all that stuff. And I mean, however anybody feels about that, there were clear indications that some of the things that they were telling us to do were against the science.
Yes.
It was actually against medical science.
Yes.
So when I see that, I'm like, okay,
How
I don't
do
really
we
trust
trust?
you on
Yeah.
anything else now because you went so off the wall on that
Right.
one. Just ignoring facts and science, going here. Why am I going to trust you with anything else? And
Exactly.
I think it's a new great awakening on the healthcare system because we have people seeking us out and seeking clinics like us out and seeking other kind of alternative medicine routes.
Yes.
More
holistic based.
holistic based,
Yeah.
more underlying issue based,
Functional health.
Functional health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Functional medicine, regenerative medicine, preventative medicine, where, the mainstream medicine is not that.
Yeah.
So people are over it,
Yes.
So you started competing when?
My first competition was April of 2021.
Okay. So not too long ago.
Yeah. It was my first and only competition.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel? How did that work for you? Tell me your experience with it from a fitness athlete perspective.
So, I grew up playing sports, so I've always been very, very competitive. It was the first sport I ever did that was like really like individual. Like I was the only one on my team really. So, obviously I have a coach, but ultimately it's up to me to do the work. Right.
Oh yeah. Anything bodybuilding or fitness related, especially when you're going on stage.
Yes.
It's all you.
Yes.
You may have a team behind you that kind of pushes you and helps you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I dieted for 8 months. Yeah. So I lost, I think it was 40 pounds, just over 40 pounds.
Wow.
And I loved being on stage. It was incredible. I had the best time. I did really well too. So like obviously.
Winning's always fun.
Yeah, exactly. And what was the rest of that question? I don't even.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
No. So the question was like, how did that make you feel? How did you feel physically during it, before it, after
Okay.
it? Because you said you started having issues.
Yes.
At one point after the prep.
It was my first prep, so I had never really experienced anything like that.
Okay.
So I didn't know what to expect. I do think that I felt a lot worse than most people would.
Okay.
Especially towards the end, like the last 2 months, I could barely get up to go to the bathroom. Like it was not a good time. So obviously that was really hard, but I pushed through, and being on stage was obviously the best part. It was
Sure.
the height of all of it.
So what happened after physically to you?
So after, I felt good because I was eating more and I had more energy to do more things. But then probably about a month post show, so like end of May,
Okay.
I started getting cystic acne. And I was like, this is weird. Like, why is this coming up all of a sudden? And then I started noticing more of my hair coming out, like when I wash my hair in the shower, when I brush it, whatever. And I was like, okay,
Something's off.
something else is wrong. And then I started having really bad energy dips, and I was putting on weight really fast.
Okay.
But I wasn't like going nuts. Like I definitely enjoyed myself,
Sure.
but I don't believe that.
You weren't binging.
Right.
Gotcha.
So it was just thing after thing kind of piling up. And at that point I was like, okay, I need to, go get my blood work done. So at that time, obviously I was trusting my doctor. but she told me everything was fine.
I'm guessing she saw your hormone levels, everything looked quote unquote in
In
range.
range, yes. But of course, my estrogen was like way at the like high end of the spectrum.
Okay.
And then my progesterone was way at the bottom end of the spectrum. So my ratio was just super off. And I didn't know that at the time because I hadn't really
Well, you're trusting
dived into that.
You're trusting what the professionals are saying.
Exactly. So, but I still knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
So I decided to kind of just reach out to a few friends. One of our friends, Katie, actually in Ireland, she's a pretty well-known health coach. She works with Emily Duncan. She was coaching under her, and I know she had been posting a lot about hormones and stuff. So I decided to reach out to her just out of curiosity. And I knew she was going through some issues as well. And so I kind of asked her some questions, picked her brain, and she told me that there was a seminar in Stuart, Florida with Alan Kress. And it was a women's only seminar. So I decided to just make the drive out there.
Awesome.
So I went, and that was honestly like the turning point for me.
I'm going to ask you a very personal question. Did you do anything with hormones for the bodybuilding show?
I did.
Okay.
So I was taking Osterin, so 100% legal, but you know, I was taking it for far too long. Like it should be cycled like anything else.
Where did the Osterin come from?
It came from my coach directly.
Okay. Because it's not a regulated drug.
Right.
Which is a problem.
Exactly.
Which is a problem.
Like he has it tested and everything, so
sure.
I felt like I trusted
Sure.
it. So, which now I'm like, that was probably not the greatest idea.
Listen, you're talking to an ex-bodybuilder. The things that I put in my body to do bodybuilding shows, I am not happy about. I am not, I'm very honest about it.
Right.
But yeah, I'm like, every time I talk about it, I'm like, sorry, Mom,
Yes. And I did do Nolvadex.
Okay.
So obviously that's messing with my estrogen.
Yep. Very minimal, actually.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not like you were doing what a lot of women do. And for anybody listening that doesn't know, and you know this from a competition standpoint, women out there now, they're doing these fitness competitions, whether it's bikini or bodybuilding, doesn't matter. They're doing a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
At some pretty extreme doses.
Yeah.
I know some women that have been taking some compounds that are doses that I would take as a man. And I'm like, girls, you need to relax. You need to calm down. You're going to cause yourself irreparable damage. You know what I mean? And, not just from a health perspective, but your body.
Yeah.
Women will drastically change.
Yeah.
I mean, women can develop a masculine jawline. They can develop clitoral enlargement. Deeper voices. I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about a deeper voice like where a woman has a slightly deeper voice than other women. I'm talking about you're going to sound like me.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I know
if
exactly what you mean.
You walked up to me and you're like, hey, Tomo. I'd be like, whoa.
What the
What's
heck
up,
is
girl?
wrong with you?
What's up, girl? Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of drugs in the sport. So you did very minimalistic things.
Yes.
But still, you had a little bit of a hormone issue. And
yes.
For those that don't know, Osterin will actually potentially shut down your hypothalamic pituitary axis.
Yep.
So probably what happened to you.
Yeah.
Now, when you went to that doctor and you got all those answers and you went to this seminar, you obviously discovered there's more to hormones than what your doctor told you.
Yes.
Did you then follow up and get a more extensive blood panel and kind of go from there, or what did you do there?
I immediately signed up with one of Alan's coaches, Coach Casey, and she's been phenomenal. She still coaches me.
Okay.
I'm still going through some hormonal issues, so we're still cleaning things up. But from there, she kind of took a look at those, and then we went through a flush phase just to try to clear everything out, clear any excess estrogen hanging around. And then we went into a feed phase. So we kind of just fed me up so that, my metabolism would hopefully come up. And then now we're kind of here. We tried to do a cut, but it wasn't really working. So we did get some blood work in December.
Okay.
Some updated blood work, and things had definitely improved.
Okay.
And then I just did a Dutch test it was probably like a month ago. And it came back kind of interesting, actually, because I still had higher estrogen. It was still in range, which was good. my progesterone was still very low.
Okay.
And then my androgens were like through the roof.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're working on now.
Okay.
But
have you looked at your IGF-1 levels for growth hormone and your testosterone?
I know I have it. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I could definitely pull it up. But
Yeah, I would definitely take a look at all of them because just like you said with the balances between progesterone and estrogen, everything really likes to be in balance.
Yeah.
Your body,
I know my testosterone was like in a good spot.
Good.
But it was more like a concern as to why my progesterone wasn't coming up.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's a few reasons that could be. Even like I have the copper IUD, and even that can cause your progesterone to be suppressed.
All birth control.
Yeah.
So I don't care what kind of birth control you use.
Even if it's not hormonal.
Even if it's not hormonal, it will affect your
Yes.
hormones. When I hear of non-hormonal birth controls, for those of you listening on Spotify or Apple or Amazon, I'm doing big air quotes. So big air quotes on the non-hormonal birth controls, they absolutely affect your hormones.
Yes.
The only way that women are able to basically stop contraception is by limiting the hormones.
Right.
You know, that's just how it works. So, you know, they say the copper IUD, oh, it's natural. It doesn't affect it's not a hormone-based thing. Yes, but you are implanting something that is directly affecting how your hormones work. So they all have a relative thing. I am very anti-birth control. It's just way over abused.
Yes,
like almost,
exactly.
I mean, almost all medications at this point are way over abused.
Right.
By medical professionals. So I openly call out medical professionals on all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you're overprescribing a lot of these products, a lot of these drugs.
And I feel like it's always a lot of like anything to do with acne and periods. Those are like the two that I find most of my athletes that come to me, they're taking something.
Yeah.
Or I mean like anxiety and stuff like that. That's very common as well. But
and
those can also be addressed by hormones.
Oh, of course.
So
your boyfriend and Brandon and I actually spoke about that on one of the podcasts.
Yes, I do remember
Big segment on mental health and hormones.
Yes.
What people don't realize is that a lot of those mental health drugs, the anti-anxiety drugs, the antidepressants, sleep medications, which I consider somewhat of a psychiatric type drug that's way over abused, all of those massively affect how your hormones work. And you will usually have a horrible decline. And, you know, when I always talk about hormones with men and women are always more in tune with their hormones. Always. Because you guys know what a hormone fluctuation actually is.
Yes.
You deal with it every month, right? So you know what hormone change means. You should. Yeah. So if you're having regular periods, if you're menstruating regularly, you know what a hormone change is. When you menstruate, your hormones go haywire for a minute, right? So when I talk to women and men, women automatically understand, okay, I know if there's a hormone issue because I've experienced how my hormones can fluctuate massively. When I talk to men,
it's also like, it's not like to say it's men's fault. Like we just have much more intricate hormonal systems.
I mean, you're way more complicated.
Yeah.
Women are more complicated. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it in general.
Sucks because honestly, with men, it's like, oh, throw a little testosterone at them and usually they're better.
Usually that's the case. Dealing with men when it comes to hormone therapy is fairly easy. Yes, we do have some complicated cases, of course, 100%. From the medical side. Women, it's a little more complicated because, you know, if you emphasize kind of putting one hormone optimally and the others don't catch up,
follow suit,
you have to do multiple hormone therapies to do that.
Yeah.
And women also have just, like I said, a lot more hormonal issues because of what you guys are experiencing in the culture, birth control and what have you, right? The way that women are almost pushed to look certain ways, you know?
Chronic dieting.
And almost, exactly. Yep. Chronic and swing dieting.
Yep.
Really yo-yo dieting is horrible for you. Eating a healthy, balanced diet is what it's all about.
Right.
You know, which I'm sure you harp on.
Oh, yes.
So
100%.
What do you suggest for like these women? And again, you're young, but you know, you're starting right now at an early age where a lot of women are getting these hormone problems later in their 20s, into their 30s or 40s. You know, we're not talking about menopausal people, but people that are younger than that. You unfortunately hit some of these snags and problems early. So what advice can you give to people from a diet and exercise perspective? Obviously, we can say, get your hormones checked. That's easy, you know. But what would you say?
I have a lot to say about
Please.
this. So the average woman will diet twice a year. But the issue, it's not that dieting is necessarily a bad thing. It's just that the way it's done is what's causing the issues. So when a woman diets, they generally drop their calories and increase their activity. So, but it's drastic. And then once they get to where they feel good or look good, they immediately jump back to where they were or even above at like intake levels. So they're not steadily increasing their food so that their metabolism comes up with them and their body composition keeps getting better each time. Instead, it's basically just a cycle where they just keep getting worse because they keep doing the same thing, but each time they need to diet longer. And they need to be more extreme, maybe drop calories even more each time, maybe diet longer each time.
Let's touch on that real quick on the dropping of calories, because I say this to people all the time. Obviously, I'm big on balanced diets. I'm big on making sure your metabolism is working for you. There is a huge craze for doing these diets that are so limited in calories, and it crashes their metabolism.
Low carb.
Yeah, low
Keto.
carb, low calories, keto. I mean, I've done every diet on the planet. I try to do vegan for like a week.
Yeah.
Horrible.
No.
Horrible idea. Awful idea. No offense, vegans. I'm not with your diet.
Not for me.
Yeah, but when it comes to eating in a calorie deficit, there's a limit on how long that works.
Yes.
And you will crash your metabolism out.
Your metabolism adapts.
We get people coming in and they're like, I've been eating 1,200 calories a day for the last 6 months and I have not lost a pound.
Yep.
I'm like,
classic.
Well, your metabolism is crashed and your body is literally in starvation mode. And I try to explain this in a very primal sense.
Yes.
We're animals. We think we're not animals. We think we're above animals. We're not. We're animals. We're mammals. Our body processes work a lot like a lot of other animals. Now, if you do not eat a certain amount of calories, your body thinks you're starving. Your body thinks you're going through a famine. Your body thinks you're going to die. So what is it going to do? It's going to store as much fat as possible. It's going to possibly burn a lot of muscle, especially newly built muscle.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's trying to keep you alive.
Yeah.
It thinks you are starving to death. And when I explain it to people that way, they're like, oh, so what do I do? I'm like, eat more food, but then I'll gain weight. I'm like, it's not how it works. It's really counterintuitive for people to think of, though.
Right.
What do you tell people when, I mean, I know you've told this to people.
Yeah.
What do you tell people when that conversation happens? Like, how do you get them to understand you have to eat more to lose body fat and get at a better metabolic place?
So, I mean, that's essentially exactly what I tell them. A lot of the time it's just explaining that if we eat more healthy foods, nutritious foods with, you know, all your phytonutrients and your micronutrients, then basically we get to a spot where your metabolism is at a better place and losing fat or building muscle becomes more optimal for your body. So you really just need to, I mean, you literally said it, like just explaining the whole thing to them. Usually they are very receptive.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people come into our office and we don't really do too much diet nutrition counseling. We'll give them some tips and tricks and like give them an idea. Because I tell everybody that comes in, if anybody listening to this, if you think you have a hormone problem, I understand that you may think you have a hormone problem. You may also have a lifestyle problem.
Yes.
If you're sedentary and you're eating like shit, guess what? You're going to have a hormone problem. So go and exercise and stop being sedentary.
Yep.
Fix the way that you eat. Fix how much food you eat. Fix the quality of food you eat. And then you may not have a hormone problem. So, I'm very anti-symptom treating.
Yes.
I'm very pro.
You need to find the root.
I'm very
of the
pro
issue.
underlying issue.
Yes.
So I'm very pro underlying issue. Now, listen, most people that have a hormone problem should be in their, now it's in their 30s, but it should have been in their 40s plus. Now it's like 30s plus.
Yeah.
If you're in your 30s plus you have a hormone decline, and I understand, that's fine. You know, you may be living a good lifestyle.
But it's happening
if
in
you're
the
25,
20s. Yeah.
If you're 21, if
Yep.
we have people calling us. 20 to 25 or 20 to 30, our immediate response is, what's your diet like? And what is your exercise like?
Yeah.
What's your activity level like? If they say anything but basically stellar, then we're going to tell them to go fix that.
Yeah.
We'll check your hormones so you
Right.
know, but you're not getting on hormone therapy.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it
because they want that instant gratification. It's like they think you're a doctor and they're going to throw a prescription at you, you know?
Well, they think we're normal doctors.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They think we're the normal
Yes.
mainstream medicine.
Right.
Fix my symptom. It's not what we do. We're
No.
fixing an underlying problem, and
Yes.
your underlying problem at that age might be the way you eat and might be how active you are. Are you still going to be competing in the future, or are you kind of taking a break?
I want to.
You want to?
I do.
You're
yes.
taking a break, obviously, because of your hormones things, but
everything needs to be pristine.
Good.
I want to get myself into a good spot before I even think about dieting into a next show. So
from a bodybuilding perspective, from a fitness perspective, because you have this background a little bit, right? What do you think about the current state of what bodybuilding is looking like? What do you think about the current state of what the fitness community is experiencing when it comes to health, abuse of anabolics, things like that? What's your stance on it? Because you're a lot younger than most of the people that I talk to about this. Most of the people that I talk to kind of grew up in my era where we were watching Ronnie Coleman actually competing on stage. We were watching these bodybuilders. I mean, you won't remember this because you literally weren't born. I'm so old. You literally weren't born, but bodybuilding was on ESPN.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding was on Fox Sports. They were going.
It was very separate from the fitness industry too.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was more niche, but it was also more mainstream.
Yeah.
It's a weird dichotomy, kind of what happened over the last 20, 30 years. So from your perspective as a young person in the fitness industry and somebody who's competed in the fitness industry, what do you see as the issues or non-issues with what's going on in bodybuilding with health?
Hormonal imbalances and things are becoming more known. Like more people are talking about them. More people are talking about taking a proper off season. But then, you know, I also see girls who are competing like year round. Like you look at Ashley Kaltwasser. Insane.
I know Ashley from Ohio. She grew up in Akron. I grew up in Cleveland.
Yeah, insane. Like her body is just like meant for the sport, I feel like, because to me, it doesn't look like she's having any issues, but you never really know.
She did for a little bit. Remember when she kind of dropped off for a bit?
That was a while ago, right?
A while ago.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was like half,
She's been
half
like
of your life
nonstop
ago,
since
but yeah.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's when she
After
dropped.
she won, probably, right?
She moved to
Olympia.
California, and she kind of like dropped off, and she took a couple years off. And she became a little more of a celebrity status in the fitness community, but she wasn't competing.
Right.
And you could tell by the pictures from that era, she gained a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
You know, she's a little bit thicker. But again, she comes from a gymnast background. She's meant to be lean and long and muscular.
Yeah.
She has those genetics.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, competing year round is definitely dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do you see from a health perspective just in general? Like, I mean, you obviously know about bodybuilders dying. You obviously know about a massive amount of abuse of anabolics.
Yes.
If you know the sport, you know there's a shitload of abuse of drugs.
Yes.
Not just anabolics.
Yeah.
So we're clear.
Yeah.
I know dudes that are taking cocaine pre-workout. I know guys that are taking opiates to heal the pain or get rid of the pain that they're suffering. What's your thought on it all?
I mean, I think it's dumb. And a lot of the times you don't need all of that to actually build muscle. Like, especially when it comes to, because the bodybuilding diet, it's not that nutritiously dense. So it makes me wonder, like, okay, if they like even halved their doses sometimes, because sometimes they're outrageous. But it also concerns me because I don't know what they're putting in their body because it doesn't come from
a pharmacy,
a clinic,
doctor, or anything. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, that's also kind of sketchy. But it makes me wonder, like, if they were using real stuff at half of the dose that they were using currently and had a nutritious diet and were actually optimizing everything else in their body, what would that look like?
I think it would look like the bodybuilders of yesteryear from the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, which is my favorite era of bodybuilding. I grew up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger in movies and, you know, that whole era. all the magazines that I ever bought, collected, got from my parents when I was growing up, had Arnold, Franco, had, you know, all those guys from back in the day. Even guys that were coming into the 90s, like Labrada, you know, Rich Gaspari, stuff like that. Started to get a little freaky after that. But what were those guys doing? Why did they look so healthy back then? Why, you know, they didn't have the super shredded physique. They weren't like inside out conditioning.
Yeah.
You know, but what were they doing? Because they're definitely taking anabolics.
Yeah.
But at what dose? What was their diet like? I mean, these guys were drinking gallons of milk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys were drinking gallons of milk.
That's unheard of today.
No, you won't even touch dairy as a bodybuilder today.
No.
You know, and I'm wondering, and I eat a very source conscious diet now. So I only source my meat from certain farms.
Yep. Which is good.
I'm really big on not using factory farming.
Yep.
Especially factory meat
full
production.
Of hormones and antibiotics.
It's pumped full of shit.
Yeah.
I always like to ask people that are in the bodybuilding industry, that are in the fitness industry, what they think about the drug abuse. And it's always kind of the same answer. You know, what I think is needed in the bodybuilding industry is kind of a push towards health, kind of a push towards...
And maybe even just education.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So a push towards health and wellness education where they understand. And I mean, like, listen... They understand.
Yeah.
You know you're doing bad shit.
But I feel like they know, but they just don't. It's not that they don't care, but they just don't think it's going to happen.
Maybe it is they don't care, and I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, because we live in an extreme world and there are extreme sports everywhere.
Yeah.
People jump off buildings with parachutes. Mm-hmm. People go skydiving. People go rock climbing.
That adrenaline rush.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So people seek adrenaline. People seek to be other, to be different, right? Bodybuilding is very different. It's very other. When you see a professional bodybuilder walk down the street,
you're like, whoa,
what the fuck is that? Right? It's like, what is that? What the hell just walked by me?
I mean, I can't imagine walking down the street and seeing Big Ramy and being like, whoa, like,
he's not as impressive in person.
Really?
If
you don't think so?
If he ever watches this, or if this goes on anybody's channel, I'm gonna probably piss him off a little bit. But the most impressive bodybuilder I ever saw in person was Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah.
I saw him in Columbus, Ohio at an Arnold Classic in like 2004 or 5.
Yeah.
So he was a monster.
Yeah.
And he got out of we were walking down the street going to the Arnold Classic, and he got out of a cab. And
how did he get out? That's my question.
Listen, he wasn't in a normal cab. It was in a minivan.
Okay.
He got out of the sliding door, and he gets out, and we just see this monstrosity get out of this car, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah.
We walk by him, we don't say anything because it's Ronnie Coleman, right? He's just wearing a purple pinstripe suit.
Oh, yeah.
And he literally was like as wide as the car. And we're walking by, and then my friend Mike yells, "Yeah, buddy." And he just yells back, "Yeah, buddy." And I was like,
oh my God.
That's what bodybuilding is, right?
Yeah.
But he was the most impressive bodybuilder that I've ever seen in person. And when you see him, he didn't actually look like a real human.
Yeah.
He looked
cartoon.
like somebody built him in a lab.
Mm-hmm.
Where can everybody find you? Where can they get information from you on diets, on exercise, on plans? Where can we find you to get more information? Because I think, especially at your age, I think it's really, really good to see somebody in your age group that is looking at a more health conscious way to be muscular, to be lean, to be healthy, because I think we really went off the deep end over the last 10, 15
Absolutely.
Years.
Oh, probably longer.
So probably longer, but you are a refreshing sight for what I see in fitness and bodybuilding, because the young people need to realize there's a better way of doing it. And the massive abuse and the way that diets work, the way that your body works, and just women in general need to understand that it's not all about eating no food to get healthy.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
No.
There's a difference between healthy.
Not healthy.
There's a difference between healthy and lean.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. Real big difference. So if you can have abs, you can be very unhealthy.
Yeah.
But you
might look good, but you won't feel good.
You won't feel good. You might feel horrible. So where can they find more information on you?
So my Instagram is Nikki Czaplicki. Should I spell that out?
Please spell that out.
So NIKKICZAPLICKI. But we also have our website at builtbrigade.com. So you can look at all of our programming and stuff there if you're interested.
Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for the information. Thank you for the insight from a woman's perspective. Like I said, it's refreshing. I'm happy that there are people like you that are pushing the fitness industry in a new, healthy way.
Thank you.
So thanks again, and we'll have you on soon.
Thank you.
All right.